Hello there. Welcome to the Campus Consultancy Campus Leadership Challenge, all about entrepreneurship. In this video, I'm going to share with you why entrepreneurship is such a fundamental skill and why the mindsets, as well as the technical skills behind it, are accessible to all and how easy they are to learn if you go through this challenge and if you go through this video with us. I'm also going to run you through the 6 different stages that we'll be talking about throughout this month. And if you get nothing else out of this video, just by watching and learning these 6 stages, if you ever decide to start a business in the future or you're interested in developing entrepreneurial skills, this is a great place to begin. So firstly, why should you learn about entrepreneurship? Now, 2020 has been a tough year, and with COVID and the changes in the graduate marketplace, we know that in the near future, getting a job is probably going to be as hard as it ever has been before. So why should you layer more work on top of that? Well, entrepreneurship is not only a skill that employers are seeking out. In the top 10 skills that employers are looking for in 2020, one of them is creativity and enterprise. They're also looking for planning and organizational skills, leadership, and emotional intelligence. Fundamentally, at the base of entrepreneurship is emotional intelligence and empathy. We always say empathy before innovation. So if you go through this challenge or you learn these skills, you'll be learning the exact skills employers are looking for. Secondly, it's something to give you an edge. Think about how many students in your degree are going to graduate and have the same qualification. And that's awesome. But often we think getting an edge is about doing this extra thing that's way bigger. And it's really not. You can get an edge by doing 5 or 10% more than what most people will do. So when you look at all the different students in your grade, ask yourself, how many of them have ever started a business? And just by starting it, by showing that initiative, by showing the planning, by communicating it, by putting yourself out there, coming up against failures and overcoming it, developing resilience, these sound like buzzwords, but all of these words are key skills employers are looking for. So if you do something, you'll stand out. And if you stand out, you'll be memorable in the eyes of an employer. And thirdly, why should you do entrepreneurship? Well, maybe you'd actually like to be an entrepreneur. Maybe you'd like to run or start your own business. In the US now, more than 1/3 of American workers are in some way involved in the gig economy. And that could mean from working with Uber or Airbnb or running a side hustle or an e-commerce store. It's more accessible now than ever in history. So you starting your blog, your podcast, your YouTube channel, your online store, or being a knowledge consultant, sharing your expertise in an area, even being a tutor, is so accessible, and it's something that might just pay your bills one day. So there's 3 really compelling reasons why you should be involved in this challenge and why you should be interested in entrepreneurship. So what's involved? Well, this month, it's not just going to be coming from us, but we're also going to be having some really exciting guest partners, which we'll talk to you about really soon. I want to run you through the 6 stages in this video, 6 stages of the entrepreneurial cycle to start at a real foundational level. These are the same things I learned when I had no business training, no marketing training, and I did them in a sort of night school format over 6 months. We're going to give them to you in 4 weeks in a compressed format, and not just learning from that experience, but all the different experiences I've had building courses, lecturing at the University of Melbourne, and running Campus Consultancy for just over 3 years and just over 16,500 students. So here are the 6 stages. The first stage, what is the problem? We're going to dig into a problem that you really care about. Second, we're going to research the market. Who else cares about that problem? What are they doing about it? Thirdly, we're going to be looking at a solution. How do you come up with something to hopefully solve this problem? In the 4th stage, we're going to be looking at testing. So how do you know that your idea works? In the 5th stage, we're going to be looking at how do you market that idea? And in the 6th stage, we're going to be looking at how do you pitch it and sort of a sales 101. So let's go through each of the stages now in a little bit more detail. The first stage is all about the problem you care about. Now, I said before, empathy before innovation. One of the top reasons startups fail, and an Australian author named Jamie Pride wrote an amazing book called Unicorn Tears and shared in there that the number one reason Australian startups fail, the number one, is that they make a product or a service that nobody actually wants. They go out there and they make, cucumber flavored toothpaste. And everyone's like, that's kind of interesting, but I don't really have a need for that. They're not solving a problem. And entrepreneurship at its core is about solving a problem. The key question there is, which problem do you care about solving? And entrepreneurs say every problem is an opportunity. It's not an opportunity just to make money. It's an opportunity to help people. Think of the different applications and products and services that you buy, the things that you choose to spend money on, not because you're forced to, but you choose to. Think of the things that you buy, maybe the last thing that you bought. Odds are you paid for something because it either made your problems go away, even in the short term, or it increased some sort of gain or pleasure that you were looking for. And we know that humans are motivated by increasing pleasure and decreasing pain. So when we teach in this first stage with a problem, we want to help you go through some tools such as Value Proposition Canvas and Empathy Map Canvas to explore what are the problems out there, and can you pick one that you care about? And it doesn't have to be find your passion. It can be, and that's amazing if you've got one. But it might be something that just annoys you. You might look at the news and say, okay, what are the top 20 problems in the world that they say are out there? Pick the one that really frustrates you. And if you can find something there that frustrates you, that energy, you can say, okay, well, if that's a problem for one person, it's probably a problem for lots. And maybe I could do something about that. So in our first stage, the problem, we'll figure out what's a problem you care about, and then we'll try to get to the root cause of it. Second stage. The second stage is about research. Now, we want to get rid of the naivety. We definitely don't think we're the first person to ever realize climate change was a problem. And it's a big problem. And lots of people are working towards it. And every year, the IPCC, every 4 years, I think, puts out a big report, and they talk about the different changes in the science and the research on climate change. So we wouldn't want to solve the problem of climate change all by ourselves without reading any of the research. So it's important here. We don't have to go and get a PhD in the problem, but we want to at least know what's on the top 2 or 3 pages of Google when we search our problem. Now, it's said that a problem well defined is a problem half solved. So the more we research it, the more we learn about other people in the industry who are also trying to solve that problem, we'll be able to see what they've tried, what's worked, and maybe what hasn't worked. And in our market research, we're looking for a gap. We're looking for the smallest viable audience that we could serve and potentially build a business around servicing. Now, you heard me correct there, the smallest viable audience. We're not saying we're going to start the next Facebook and get 1 billion users. That's a really poor place to start. Think of the amount of apps that have 1 billion users. There's like 6 of them, maybe ever, right? So at least the ones on our phones. So when we look at an area that we want to make a change in, we don't want to think massive at the start. We might want to think global long term, but we want to act really locally, act really small. We always say in entrepreneurship, can you help one person? And this month has been a success, not only if you develop skills, but if you help one person in the process. So in the research stage, who's out there? What have they tried? What are the gaps? And what could we maybe add to that conversation? The third stage of entrepreneurship. We've got our problem. We've got some research. The third stage is solving it. The goal of the solving stage is problem, solution, fit. So think about this. If your problem is, I'm really, really thirsty, you go, okay, and what are all the other solutions out there? You do the market research. I was, well, there's all these options. I get a water bottle or a bottle of water. I could use tap water. I could sparkling water. I could drink Gatorade or who knows what else. If you say, I'm really, really thirsty, and then you come up with a solution, you go, okay, I've got a new way to solve that. Let's solve that by making really high water content foods. And not only do you eat, but you also drink while you're eating. And that's your idea. I was like, okay, fair enough. What we want to test then is we want to take it to people who are thirsty and see, does your solution solve that problem? If someone's thirsty and you give them their product, does it solve their problem? And if your solution's like, oh, when someone's really, really thirsty, we're going to give them an apple because there's lots of water in an apple. And you give a thirsty person an apple and they go, it's a good apple, but I'm still thirsty. We haven't actually solved their problem. So in this stage, what's key is we're going to come up with a whole bunch of different ideas. We'll do some design thinking. We'll explore how you can come up with ideas to solve a problem. But what's key then is in this point, we figure out, can we actually solve it? Can we solve a piece of it? Now, not only do we have problem solution fit, but we then want to look at product market fit, and we'll deal with this in the marketing stage. Our fourth stage is looking at testing. Now, what's key in testing, just like giving the thirsty person an apple, is we actually, once we have a bit of an idea, we go out to the people that we want to serve and we say, here's our idea, what do you think? Does it solve the problem? And when we go through this, we'll use a little bit of lean startup. That's where you build, measure, and learn. And the key bit around the lean startup is not only do you build a prototype, and we'll show you a bunch of different prototypes you can make, from an app to a website, to a form, to a PDF, to a physical prototype. But once you've made that prototype, we want to take it out and we want to measure, does it actually work? And not only do we want to measure it, we also want to learn, build, measure, learn what customers and users are saying. And the key with the Build, Measure, Learn cycle in the Lean Startup, which is the #1 most recommended book for entrepreneurs in Australia, according to Startup Master. The key part of that cycle is we want to go through that cycle, build, measure, learn, build, measure, learn, build, measure, learn, as quickly as possible, as many times as possible, as cheaply as possible. And cheap means effort, energy, resources, time. So in the 4th stage, when we test it, we're going to put our idea out there and see what people think. Now you might be thinking, this sounds like a lot for a month. You'd be amazed how quickly you can move through it. Where we go wrong often is we start with an idea and then we put it out there and no one wants it. The reason no one wants it is we haven't done the first stages. If you do those first stages over the first couple of weeks, as we get into the 3rd and into the 4th week, you'll be right for testing. The 5th stage. The 5th of 6 stages is around marketing. So when we look at marketing, we'll dig into a little bit of Sales 101. And Peter Drucker once said, every business has 2 legs, innovation and marketing. Innovation is, can you create something? Find a problem, solve the problem, the first 4 weeks. But then you need marketing. And marketing is about putting your value proposition out into the world. How do you make the lives of people better? What is it that's unique about you? And can you put that in front of people? Now, Seth Godin once said, if you can't sum up your value proposition in 8 words, you don't have one. So at Campus Consultancy, if someone says, what does Campus Consultancy do? I say, we have a belief. Better university leaders make university better for everyone. 8 words. That's our belief. Better university leaders make university better for everyone. I say, okay, I believe that. Well, how do you do it? Well, then we get into our details. We have programs, we have workshops, we do all these different things. And it's totally bespoke and customized to you. And we have challenges. So people go, that's amazing. What do I have to do? Well, you can sign up. The challenges are free and the workshops are on campus. And if you'd like to run something on campus, talk to Josh and we'll talk it through. If you'd just like to do a challenge and get involved, it's totally free. Reach out to Steph, our head of community and wellbeing. And the process is simplified. But it starts with a really clear value proposition. We believe better university leaders make university better for everyone. Now in the 6th stage, this is around pitching. And pitching sometimes in the startup world becomes a little bit cliche. Like how often do you actually stand on a stage and pitch your business? I mean, I've done it once and no revenue came from that. What's much more common is you're actually having a conversation about your business. You're sitting down with someone in a meeting and you're explaining, what do we actually do? Why do we do it? What makes you unique? Who are you to do this thing? Where's your expertise come from? Or why are you so passionate about this? You know, you could be doing a million things, but why are you doing this? So in the final stage in pitching, we'll talk about storytelling. We do a couple of storytelling structures. And we'll also talk to you about how you can document your process as you go through. And a big thing, not only for employers, but for potential customers and clients, is showing them how you're growing and evolving. It's why everything we do it on LinkedIn and we do it publicly. Because we want to show the world, like we're figuring things out, we're learning. When COVID happens, we did 48 episodes of Coffee with Campus Consultancy. And we did it live because we knew video was going to be key. When we ran online events, we've run over 200 online events since COVID hit. We did it on Zoom, and after about 20 of them, I put out an ebook. I said, look, I'm not a pro yet, I'm not the best in the world at this, but here's a bunch of things I've learned. And every so often we update the ebook and give and give and give. And one of our core values at Campus Consultancy is to add value first, to always be sharing, to always be giving. And that comes from solving a problem, comes from caring about it. That comes from doing research and realizing so much of this consultancy and leadership stuff was locked behind paywalls. Like, we're going to give it out. The third step, when we looked at solutions, like what if we went to students from former students, asked them what they needed, taught them it, checked in, and measured and tracked their results. The fourth stage, when we looked at testing it, we did it with students. We did it for free with students before we realized it worked, we had something. And then once we knew it worked, we relied on students to tell other students and staff. And our staff telling other staff. And our business grew without any financial investment and without any dollars spent on marketing. Just from word of mouth, people telling each other that this was something that was cool, that students loved, and that got real results. In the fifth step, when we looked at marketing the product, as we said, did it all on LinkedIn. We shared it, we put it out. Before we ever even ran a program, we did 2 ebooks, I think 20 or 30 pages each, interviewing students. Content marketing. Here's valuable content for you from us. That takes a lot of time. If you've ever made a 30-page ebook on Canva, it takes a lot of time. We do it because we love it. And we believe that it's good long-term, not only for the business, but for the people we wish to serve. And the sixth stage, when it looks at pitching, sales, and meetings, we sit down with someone often, if they've heard of us, if they've brought us in, then they know that they care about students and we care about students too. And when we sit together, we just have a conversation about the best way to help. Sometimes it's not us. We can recommend someone else, which is awesome. We have great friends in the industry. But if we can, we love to help. Now, for me, this is something that all of these skills I've learned through reading hundreds and hundreds of books about business and leadership. And it's our hope that this month we can summarize them and make them practical for you, make them enjoyable. You'll also get this month in the Campus Leadership Challenge on Entrepreneurship an accountability buddy, so someone to check in with. We'll also be supported by an amazing partner this month. We're running an event on the 19th of October with Microsoft, which is going to be really exciting. All about how to kind of build an app and use their power apps, and also meeting some of their team, their recruitment staff and interns. You'll learn all about the awesome ways that Microsoft can support you. And more than that, we hope that this is a month where you have a lot of fun. We hope it's a month where you learn entrepreneurial skills, where you can stand out and get an edge to an employer. And maybe, just maybe, this is a month that you start a business that becomes the business that you run in the future. So if you're with us, we're really excited. We hope you've got a little bit from this video. Remember those 6 stages. The first one, problem. Second, research. Third, solution. Fourth, I'm forgetting my words here. Problem. Even I forget this sometimes. Problem, research. Solution, testing. Testing is number 4. Number five, we're looking at marketing. And number 6, we're looking at pitching, meetings, and sales. So we're all going to make little stumbles. We're going to make mistakes this month. That's what it's about. We want to develop resilience in the process, but we also hope you have a bunch of fun. So if you're with us, we're going to have a blast this month. We look forward to hearing about your businesses, and we'll be speaking with all of you soon. Bye.